So we are going to do some canning today. We're going to do pressure canning and water bath canning. My friend brought me 3 cases of produce when she ran to a market that sells food from the Amish. So I suddenly have a bunch of food here. I have cucumbers, I have green beans, I have sweet potatoes, and we're gonna spend a few hours canning here, and I'm gonna show you exactly what I do, because last year when I started canning, I was so intimidated and I kept searching videos and they just assumed that I knew things that I didn't know. So I'm going to use my very non-technical terms, and I'm going to try to walk you through everything. I hope I don't forget anything here, and I hope this is a help to you. Lots of activity here at the Kreke house. Everybody else is working outside on a project, which I will show you a little bit later, but Elsie and I are doing some canning today. Right now you hear that noise in the background. We have 7 quarts of sweet potatoes. For a second I couldn't remember what we put in there.
Yeah.
We cubed sweet potatoes, put hot water on them, boiling water, and then we put those in the pressure cooker for 90 minutes. So they're in the middle of that process. And now we're going to do water bath canning of some pickled vegetables. So we are actually, a friend of mine went to a market that sells food that the Amish brings in, and so she picked up a case of green beans for me, and so we are doing her grandma's recipe, maybe it was? I'm trying to remember. It was from her, handed to her from her mom, of pickled green beans. And so we're packing green beans, just raw green beans, into pint jars. Whoops, the phone's ringing. Hang on a second. Okay. I don't even remember what I'm saying.
You were saying, I don't remember.
I don't either. Okay. So we're pickling these with the recipe from my friend. It's with vinegar, apple cider vinegar. I can share the recipe with you. So these will be water bath canned for only 15 minutes it takes for these. So this will be a lot faster, but we're just going to have them ready so that when that thing is done, we can move on to these right away. I've actually been water bath canning in my pressure canner. You just have to add more water, but that way I don't have to have 2 big pots in my tiny kitchen. So the way you process the sweet potatoes, because there's no vinegar in it, you have to do the pressure canner. So we just peeled and cubed the sweet potatoes in like 1-inch cubes, packed them in clean jars. When you're pressure canning for a long time, you don't have to sterilize the jars because it's going in for such a long time. So they were just clean quart jars. Packed them like 1 inch from the top. Then I have hot water in my pressure canner. Anytime I pressure can something, I put in 3 quarts of really hot water. And I add a splash of vinegar, which helps because we have hard water that tends to make the jars look cloudy. So then, and you have to make sure you have that rack in the bottom, right? Or any kind of rack. Just anything that lifts them up a little bit off the bottom. So then I took boiling water and I poured it over those sweet potatoes, leaving a full inch from the top. And I screwed on your lids. Screw them on just till they're tight. You don't have to crank them down. Put them into the canner and put the lid on. Now you're going to turn it on high, and you don't put the little thingy on the top yet. Once you see steam coming out of the top for 10 minutes, then you can set that little pressury thing on the top, and then you can start your 90-minute countdown. Now I have my burner just high enough at this point, maybe like medium high-ish, just high enough that the thing is rattling for the full 90 minutes. If it's rattling like crazy, I turn it down a little. If it's not rattling enough, I turn it up a little. I'm not super precise with it. After the 90 minutes, you're going to carefully take the thing off the burner, turn the burner off, take it off the burner, and let it just sit there until that poppy pressure valve is down. Then you can remove the little thingy. I'm going to give you all of my non-technical words because I watched technical videos and they confused me. So I'm going to give you my non-technical. Remove your little weight, And you can open it up and carefully take your jars out, and now you're gonna just let them sit. I let them sit overnight, and then in the morning I check and make sure that they all sealed. If they're good to go, you can put them in your storage. While we're busy working, the floors are being cleaned and polished because we actually were gifted an amazing vacuum. A company sent this to us. Leo's been setting it up for us. He mapped the house.
Yes, it comes with mapping technology, so it maps your entire house. You can have multiple floors. It can mop, it vacuums your carpet, it'll sweep, and it uses a brush to clean up.
It's incredible, and it self-dumps.
Yeah, it has a underneath the table. It has basically it's hands-free for up to 60 days before you have to replace the dust bag, fill it up with clean water, and empty out the dirty water.
It's incredible, and it's doing such a good job. I'm really excited. So the floors have never been so clean, and it's pretty quiet too. It's running right now, and probably what you're hearing is the pressure canner because that thing's noisy. But our floors have never been this clean because it is sweeping and mopping, and I'm not doing a thing. Okay, so you can see they're not touching each other, which is good. And there's enough water to just cover them. I'm going to turn this on high. Down there in the bottom is the rack that came with the pressure canner. I also use it for my water bath canning. I just use this thing for everything. If you didn't have a rack like that, you could even take these rings and twist tie them together and lay those in the bottom of a pot. You can water bath can in any pot that can hold enough water to cover your jars. Any pot works. You just have to have something on the bottom so the jars aren't sitting directly on the bottom of the pot. Okay, now the recipe for these pickled green beans says 15 minutes. So we're gonna let these boil for 15 minutes and then we'll take them out of the hot water and they will be done. Okay, so my jars are still pretty warm from when I boiled them. So that's good because then when I pour hot liquid in there, it's not gonna crack them. So I am now just filling these up with my cucumbers that I sliced. I have my hot liquid to pour over them. We're using the same recipe that we used for the pickled green beans. I'm gonna add a little sugar to each jar because my kids like the pickles kind of sweet. So I have some organic sugar that I'm gonna add a little bit to each jar, and also some of my dill seeds from the garden. And then I'm gonna pour that hot liquid over the top and set them back into my water bath pot, which has hot liquid in it. Not boiling, but hot. Oh, good. Okay. Elsie's gonna make some scrambled eggs to go with pancakes
And the smoothie.
and smoothie. And we'll send that out to the people outside working. So, okay, keys that hopefully will keep my pickles from being mushy. I was told to cut them a little thicker than you would normally, to use only young cucumbers that are small, and to not process them as long as people recommend. I follow this woman who has learned from her Mennonite mother and grandmother, and they've been doing this for generations, and she only does like 4, maybe 5 minutes for these. Otherwise, she said it cooks them and it makes them mushy. You have been working so hard, James.
Yeah, that's fine, so good. Take your camera out here, too.
Okay, Just a minute. Okay, so the nice thing about this is that because there's so much space, I don't have to worry about the air bubbles. If I was making something like spaghetti sauce to can, I would stick a knife down in there and really make sure the air bubbles are gone, but it's not such a big deal with this. You can kind of gently stick that thing down there and make sure that there's no air bubbles, but it's not going to be such a big deal. Just like with these, you see how much liquid was left at the bottom there, and so it fills in all the gaps. Okay, so let's repeat. We have warm jars filled with our vegetables. We're pouring over the hot liquid, the vinegar, all the recipes. We are going to do it about, we're going to check and make sure that it's a 1/2 inch from the top. We're going to add a little more or take a little away if we need to. We're going to wipe the top of the jars. We're going to put on our clean lids. We're going to set it in hot water. Make sure the water is covering the jar. Then we are going to boil the water for just 4 minutes with these.
So right now, the boys and girls are working on the house, and then the fire is going, and then of course they're in the house, and Mom was so freaked out, and then I was working hard too. That's me.